VOP Thank you.
Hi people, Ginny Albano here. Guys, please keep watching Voice of the People.
Do you want your voice to be heard? Do you know that you matter in the scheme of things? The People's Voice, the show where ordinary citizens take center stage as we discuss the biggest stories that affect you and I. With you in mind, we facilitate lively discussions, debates, and interviews on the topics that matter most to you and I. From social justice to economic empowerment, education to healthcare, governance, and more. Tackling tough topics and amplifying your voice. Join the conversation and make your voice count. The People's Voice. Make your voice count.
My name is Tao Familoni, and here is to VOP TV. Keep watching, stay tuned, do not touch that dial.
Arararara, my name is Made Kuti, and you're watching VOP TV. Keep watching.
Welcome, my name is Zika Davis. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, boys, viewers, everybody, boys and girls. This is VOP TV. Do you know what that means? Voice of the People TV. You don't have a voice, don't come here. You better make sure your voice is heard.
To know the happenings in the maritime sector, join us on the program Maritime Frontiers on VOP TV as we discuss key areas in the maritime sector from aquaculture, maritime transportation, maritime labor regulation, oil and gas exploration, ferry and passenger insurance, marine pollution and prevention, port operations, and lots more. Maritime Frontiers, exploring Nigeria's blue economy.
We encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are Voice of the People TV. Also follow us on all our social media platforms. We are at VOP TV Live. Visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. Also watch us live on SLTV channel 264. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television.
VOP TV. Now, you have more than a voice.
A very good evening to you and welcome to another exciting episode of the Issues and Voice of the People television, and we bring you the most important and pressing issues shaping our nation today. I am your host, Nenna Ndomdioto. Today on the issues, we're examining the complexities of Nigeria's polity and governance. From NBA decrying police decision to enforce tinted glass permit, to Dangote seeking investigation of NMDPRA's leadership. Also, Northern Group meets CAN, JNI on reconciliation efforts. Join us as we break down the facts and provide context to help you stay informed. We'll take a break now, and when we return, we'll dig deeper into these topics. Don't go away. Glad to have you back. Let's dive straight into today's discussion. The Nigerian Bar Association, NBA, has strongly criticized the decision by the Nigerian Police Force to resume enforcement of the tinted glass permits policy, describing the move as an action that undermines the rule of law. The police had announced that enforcement of tinted glass permits would resume nationwide from January, citing security concerns and the need to curb criminal activities involving unregistered vehicles. The force says motorists with factory-fitted tinted glasses must obtain valid permits to avoid sanctions. However, the NBA argues that the policy lacks a clear legal foundation and is prone to abuse by law enforcement officers. In a statement, the association warned that the resumption could expose motorists to harassment, extortion, and arbitrary arrest, particularly in the absence of transparent guidelines. The NBA further urged the Inspector General of Police to halt the planned enforcement and instead pursue reforms that respect citizens' rights while addressing security challenges. The police, on their part, insist the policy is necessary for public safety and say further details on enforcement guidelines were made public before January. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by two esteemed guests. Here in the studio, we have Dr. Peter Anosike. Dr. Anosike is a philosopher, development economist, and best-selling author. He's also an erudite commentator on economy, finance, politics, and power. He's also the author of the most talked about book titled Abuse of Power, How Democracy Turned into the Tyranny of the Few. Thank you for being a part of the show.
Thank you for having me.
Joining us virtually is Sunny Dada. He is a public affairs analyst and chairman, Civil Liberties Organization, Rivers State. Thank you for joining us, Sunny.
Thank you for having me, and good evening to your
Good
viewers.
evening. Okay, so let's start with you. The police has decided to revive the enforcement of the tint glass permit. Why do you think this is coming at this time? We know that's been suspended at some point, and now the police is reviving it again. What do you make of this development?
I listened to the first spokesman, his reasons around security majorly. And because of the security situation in the country today, of course, you may argue that whatever steps the Nigerian security agencies should adopt to curb the growing insecurity in the country should be widely supported, come at the expense of human rights. Human rights should be at the core, of the work of security agencies. So if they are saying that they need to enforce the ban, maybe because of rising security challenges, the statement is a bit watery because we don't have details. They said they only made a general reference to the security challenges in the country. I wanted to see, or I actually would have loved to see in that statement, for instance, data showing the rise of criminality as a result of the use of tinted glasses, But when you talk about data, it's a big elephant, especially when it has to do with security agencies, because they sweep everything under the carpet of national security or security interest. So I would have loved to see data showing that as a result of the use of tinted glasses, armed robbery has increased, kidnapping has increased, and many other crimes have increased. And I would have loved to see the locations, which part of the country where these crimes have increased because of the use of tinted glasses. I would have loved to see the part of the regions of the country, for instance, that makes use of a lot of tinted glasses vehicles. I would have loved to see, for instance, the age group, the age category, using tinted glasses? Is it young men? If it is young men, then it cannot be understood that young men are more into the use of tinted glasses because they want to use them to commit crime. If it is advanced people, would have, so data would have, given us an idea to either agree or disagree. But unfortunately, we are we're in deep blue sea. We can't disagree, neither can we agree, because if you disagree, at the end of the day, what if what they are saying is true, that the use of tinted glasses has led to increase in crime? What if you agree, and at the end of the day, the implementation now begins to infringe on the rights of citizens? So our hands are really tied, and that is why I want the police to do more. If they really want the support of citizens, they should do more by coming out to give us data, factual data that we can relate to.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Let me come to the studios. Dr. Peter, the police, the PRO of the police force has said this is for security reasons. According to him, he says follows a careful review of emerging security concerns and the need to ensure the safety of all citizens. Do you think that this tinted glass permit is it genuinely about national security, or has it become a way or a form of revenue and extortion tool from the police?
Well, from the Police Act, we know that I want to use that word, renting out ordinance or escorts is one of the ways they raise their fund, because the Act said those who can afford, understand? But it didn't mention anything about tinted screens. But I know that some people use tinted glasses to commit a lot of atrocities, but it is not widely spread, understand? And a lot of the VIPs also use tinted glass. So I don't know what they are going to enforce. Is it going to be universal? That's for everybody, including all the senators, that is those that the VIPs, or just you select the poor masses and say that you are enforcing. Understand? So the issue is, and I know for medical reasons, people go for tinted screens. So that's those who have eye distant problems. Understand? So there are several reasons why people go for it. This has to be find out. And what Nigeria police do is just making a general statement. Making a general statement, we've started enforcing tinted for which category of people? Is it for everybody or just for a select few? So for me, their statement is neither here and there. But whoever is that, they will have to let us know if some people are qualified and others are not qualified. Those who are qualified to use, we want to know what qualifies them. And those who are not qualified, we also want to know why those are not qualified. If they say that young men, maybe below the age of 30, shouldn't be using tinted, understand me? But there are still people in the House of Assembly who are below their 30s. So how can you segregate all this? So they should come out with a specific statements on this. Let us know those who are qualified to use and those who are not qualified. Then for people who have sight problems, what are they going to do? Whether they will go for permission, understand me, in order to use it or not. So they should come out with a specific answers to all this. Not just saying that they are enforcing security. Enforcing security is a bogus statement. They should bring it down to specifics. Understand? So is it everybody that is using tinted and glass is a criminal? Understand? So they should, as they say that as days go on, they will come up with more information. Let us see what they are going to come up with, because people don't just use tinted just for the fun of it. Some are factory fitted. Understand? Some people use it for sight and problems. VIPs also use it. So let us know how that enforcement is going to be.
Okay, the NBA has said that the policy is unconstitutional, illegal, and of course, they also said that it's extortionate and a threat to citizens' rights and economic well-being. Do you agree with that statement by the NBA?
Well, national security covers everything in the world. Understand? National security, what they can hide anything under national security, and you cannot say no because you are not a law enforcement officer. So they might be using a different dictionary from the one that we are using. Understand? So we know that in our own dictionary, we don't have anything like tinted glass, but it could be in their own. That's why I said they need to explain more. They need to explain more.
Okay, let's come to you, Sani. Do you think that this policy risks criminalizing ordinary Nigerians rather than addressing the violent crime that is actually supposed to address?
You see, and that is why I talked about data earlier. If you say if you're asking if the policy can criminalize an ordinary Nigerian, of course, once the rights of a citizen is infringed upon, then you have automatically criminalized that individual. If, for instance, because of medical reasons or because of security reasons, as my colleague has said, he decides to use a tinted glass, which is not linked to any criminality and anything that has offended the law, and you get him arrested or you impound his vehicle, you have infringed on his right. And by infringing on his right, of course, you have criminalized him. And that is why I earlier in my submission, I said that we need something empirical. When data speaks, data also takes away doubt. So once there is a verifiable data linking the use of tinted glasses to criminality or to the rise of crime in a particular segment of the country, then of course at that point citizens can come together and agree that no, we need to stop the use of tinted glasses. For instance, let me give you an instance. In Rivers State, when Rotimi Amechi was governor of Rivers State, he banned the use of Okada, and some of us, kicked against the policy because we looked at it, we viewed it from the angle of, the poor masses who could not afford cars, who had to leverage on Okada, to get to their houses, some that live in waterfront areas that needed Okada to be able to get to those locations. But the argument of the Amechi's government then was that, it was giving rise to criminality. Criminals were, taking advantage of Okada to rob people, draw their bags, and do many things. Do you know that when they stopped Okada, at that initial stage, it was difficult for citizens. But we all later saw that, yes, indeed, crime reduced. Crime, especially crimes that used to happen around 7 p.m., 8 p.m., reduced. So that is why some of these policies, you don't just wake up one morning and roll the policies out. Data should back up your policies so that as we are looking at as we are listening to you, we're also looking at the data you are showing us that gives credence to that policy. But unfortunately, in this country, we don't always see that. Government will just roll out policies, look for consultants, that will appear on media programs, promote the policies without having relevant data to back it up. And at the end of the day, you see that the policy, we see policy somersault, because when another government comes, they erase that policy, which is to tell you that those policies are not structural in nature. They are not institutional. They are not policies that help strengthen institutions. But unfortunately, like I said, the security situation that we have in the country today, it is difficult. Because of the security situation, it is very, very difficult to really strongly oppose the ban on tinted glasses, it is very, very, we're in a dilemma. And that is why it would have been good if the police do more, by really giving us strong evidence.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let me ask you, this intervention by the NBA, how damaging is it to police legitimacy?
No, it is not damaging. As a matter of fact, it is the duty of the NBA to protect the rule of law. And so whether you are a government institution, ministry or agency, whatever you are, if you come up with any policy that the NBA views as a potential to infringe on the rights of citizens, of course, they have a right to challenge it in court. And that is why I would have also loved the police to be patient enough. Since the matter is in court, let them be patient enough. Although they are saying that there is no court injunction that is restricting them from imposing the ban. But as a law-abiding agency, as a law-abiding institution, because the police force is a creation of the law. And because it's a creation of the law, it should be patient enough to test the law. Even though issues of national security are oftentimes not written in blue and white, but at least let us also hear the arguments that it will be good for the police to go to the court and also put out their own arguments. Maybe in putting out their own arguments here, they will present, facts that that could even rally citizens, to support them. So they should be patient. The NBA has not done anything wrong here, as the nation's apex body for lawyers. They are within their rights to test the legality of this policy.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to the next issue we have tonight. Chairman, you want to say something?
Yes, I want to say something. I'm very curious why NBA is pursuing this.
Okay, somebody actually, sorry, I'm going to cut you. I was actually going to ask you this question.
Because they have been quiet on other national issues. They have been quiet on other anti-people policies, programs, and so on and so forth. Just like NLC is proposing a national strike on insecurity on the 17th. NBA never thought about it. So does it mean that lawyers are the ones driving tinted vehicles? Why are they particularly concerned about this issue and not the other issues that have been hampering the progress of the country? So this is a question we should also need to ask them. That why are they particularly concerned about this particular issue?
Okay. So I actually heard something just tonight. Somebody was saying that why is it just like you said, and the NBA, what is your business with this? But I was going to ask you that question, but I just felt like he had answered and I didn't know you had something to say. But it's good that you're asking this question. Why is NBA now concerned about this particular issue?
More than the other
issues that they are supposed to be looking at. Okay, well, we'll wait for them to give us. You want something about that?
Yes, I want to say something about that. The NBA has been talking. I am not the spokesman of the NBA. I'm not even a lawyer in the first place. But I don't think that we can really, or we should fault the NBA on this. Yes, they also drive tinted glass. As a matter of fact, which segment of society doesn't drive tinted vehicles? Everybody, But for instance, as chairman of the Civil Liberties Organization, I can categorically tell you that it is not every issue that we jump onto and we begin to discuss, the issues. There are some issues we challenge in court. There are some issues we just look the other way. There are some issues we petition. It is based on our analysis. So I want to excuse the NBA on this, perhaps maybe based on the mandate of the current leadership of the NBA, or based on some, internal organizational house style or policies that we may not be aware of. This happens to fall within such, realm where they need to quickly come out and lend their voices. So for some other areas that they have not been talking, maybe it doesn't really align with their kind of mandates or policies or programs, and we should know that sometimes some of these things has to do with the leadership of the incumbent. There are some incumbents that may want to challenge everything. There are some incumbents that may want to follow backdoor channels. There are some incumbents that may want to adopt strategic and diplomatic approach. It is not everything you come out at, and sometimes you just directly engage any agency or ministry or entity, you want to directly engage with. So sometimes some of these things may not be in the news. So I don't think that we should really fault the NBA on this.
Okay, well, let's move on to our next issue. Chairman of Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, has petitioned the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, seeking an investigation into the leadership of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA, over alleged corruption and regulatory misconduct. In the petition, Dangote reportedly accused the agency's leadership of actions capable of undermining fair competition and discouraging investment in the oil and gas sector. The allegations are linked to regulatory decisions affecting petroleum operations and pricing. He further alleged that the NMDPRA MD, Ahmed Farouk, used the instrumentality of the NMDPRA to embezzle and divert public funds for self-gains and pursuit of private interest to the detriment of the Nigerian people, a development, he said, recently led to protests by different groups. The NMDPRA has denied any wrongdoing, maintaining that his actions are lawful and in line with his regulatory mandates under the Petroleum Industry Act. As this face-off escalates, the House of Representatives has stepped in, announcing plans to summon both parties. Lawmakers say they intend to mediate and investigate the claims to prevent regulatory instability and protect investor confidence in Nigeria's energy sector. Let me start with you, Dr. Peters. We've seen this back and forth by Dangote, and Dangote has released the list of the children. He has released how much was spent. He has really gone, he has really dug, I don't know, he has so much information there, down to their tertiary institution. What do you make of this accusation?
For me, these guys, mind you, what's at stake here is business interest. Understand me? What is at stake here is business interest. They want to strangulate my business. We are doing our job. Understand me? Dangote always wants more. And the truth is that he has also given more. There's no company in Nigeria that employs more than 100,000 people except him. So we need to appreciate him, understand? We need to appreciate him. We need to encourage him. But that does not mean that due process should not be followed. That does not mean that the regulatory bodies should not do their job. But the truth is that they have brought out the beast in Dangote because he is now doing the job of EFCC. Understand? So because of what? Frustration. Understand? This is not a jovial and playful Dangote. Understand? He is now throwing punches, and it must have hitting him hard. So the truth is that when two elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. He has been my friend since 2008. Understand? He has been my friend since 2008. But I keep on saying I don't want monopoly in the downstream sector. Monopoly does not develop an economy. What develops an economy is a competition. So Dangote should be allowed to do his refinery. Then other ones should also come on board. BUA should come on board. Other ones should come on board. Let Nigerians buy based on who is selling cheaper, and not one person dictating what Nigerians should buy. which Dangote has been doing over the years in cement and other things. And it is still that thing that he is fighting now. It is still that monopoly that he is fighting now, which is not good for the country. I was saying then that if NNPC and Dangote is fighting, it's for the interest of the masses. Because what they'll be doing is to cut down prices. And when they are cutting down prices, Nigerians will be benefiting because we will be buying fuel at a cheaper rate. So I encourage fight that's in the downstream because Nigerians will benefit. So Dangote needs protection because he removed the shame from our faces being a crude oil producing country without a refinery. Now we have gotten an indigenous refinery that needs to be protected, but there must not be monopoly in the downstream sector. The regulatory body should be allowed to do their job. And if they feel, and the EFCC, Dangote is not EFCC, understand? So if EFCC feels that the man that enrich himself corruptly, understand? Because that Switzerland school fees, even billionaires cannot afford it. So I wonder where that money is coming from. So EFCC should also look into that and find out where that man was able to get that amount of money. $5 million is what it's the price of a jet. $5 million is the price of a jet. So let us know where that money comes from. But they should not be allowed. They should be allowed to do their regulatory job because Dangote is not going to be the only owner of a refinery in the country. Understand? If he frustrates these people, it is going to affect the other ones that will be coming on board because BUA is about 70% completion.
Okay, let's come to you, Sunny. Do you think with all of this that is happening, what do you make of this back and forth? And do you think that Dangote's petition, do you see it as an act of civic accountability or corporate pressure on the regulation?
It's frustration.
Dr. Vita said it's frustration. So what do you make of it?
Dangote is not used to regulation. That's the truth of the matter. Is not used to being regulated in the manner that is being regulated now. Dangote has been, there are people we call in our local parlance, government picking. Dangote has been a government picking all this while, until this present administration that came, which obviously has its own interest too, and now we are now seeing high regulation around the activities of his businesses. But be that as it may, I want to give him a thumbs up, excuse me, for having the courage, to wear the identity of a whistleblower. And this is very appalling in the sense that we have regulatory agencies in this country. We have agencies like EFCC, anti-graft agencies like EFCC and ICPC in this country that cannot pretend not to know that this kind of corruption is going on or is taking place within that sector. That man in question, Mr. Farouk, for credit. Now, when I watched that video, that press conference, I quickly did my maths. What is the equivalent of $5 million? I tell you, that man, even if he has put in 30 years of service, cannot make that kind of money, to the extent that he will spend that kind of money in paying the school fees of his children in secondary school, not even in tertiary institution, secondary school. And one of his child just graduated from Harvard. Do you know what it means or what it takes to school in Harvard? So there is need for EFCC to quickly move into action. And all of this, the EFCC has been shamefully silent. the EFC has been shamefully silent. And that is why the man has gone a step further by, providing data, the relevant data, the necessary data that we need. He has, he released pictures of the children, he released evidence, receipts, of the school fees and many other things. The man has gone a step further. I know that if Dangote himself is investigated, of course, there will be many kind of worms that will be open. But, it's good. I agree with my colleague in the studio that at the end of the day, it will serve citizens very well. But I don't want us to discuss it from the premise of, is Dangote a saint? Why is he doing this? Or is it because he's being regulated? No. Somebody has blown a whistle. Let us look at the direction of the whistle, and the EFCC should stop pretending, to be silent. They should move into action now and investigate, this allegation. That man should tell us how $1 billion. We need to know appointment letter as a civil servant, how many years he has put in, how much salary has he received, and other allowances and emoluments that would have amounted to such, kind of funds to the extent that he can conveniently spend it in the payment of school fees for secondary school children, not even university students. So we should commend Dangote. We should really commend him for blowing the whistle, even though we know that, of course, he's also motivated by other sundry interests. But the fact that he's blowing the whistle, I think that he himself will also be careful, because with what he has done, there are people that will also decide to also dig deep, at his background, and I'm sure before he made up his mind to become a whistleblower, I'm sure he has also cleaned his table, But I think, to me, it portends a good omen, and there are more interesting things that will come out.
Okay, what do you think that this face-off, what does it reveal about the strength or fragility of our regulatory institutions as a country?
In fact, the investigation should even go beyond, the downstream sector. That sector, somebody was telling me when this story broke, somebody was telling me the kind of corruption that takes place within that sector. And that is why the NNPC can afford not to remit funds to the federal coffers. The NNPC can afford to close its books, can afford to refuse to open its books, operate like a secret cult. And that is why you see importers still insisting, making several attempts to strangulate the local refineries from working so that they will continue to import fuel. So basically the summary answer or response to your question is that there is little or no regulation in that sector, because the sector does not look like a regulated sector. Because if it's a regulated sector, the refineries would have worked. If it's a regulated sector, we would have leveraged on the local refinery, we would have leveraged on Dangote, the emergence of Dangote refinery, and say, relief, breathe very well and rejoice that yes, we now have a refinery. We don't have any business to import fuel anymore, because Dangote has repeatedly told us that he can serve the fuel, the petrol need of the country. So why shouldn't we encourage this man? Instead, we see government entities, politicians encouraging these importers. So it tells you that a lot of things are going wrong within that sector, and beyond that sector, many other sectors. Look at the banking sector, for instance. You sleep at night, and by the time you wake up in the morning, you see all manner of debits from your account. The CBN is just there, nothing is happening. Look at the telecommunication sector. Who is paying for our drop calls, for instance? You want to do a quick transfer, you want to do your USD for a quick transfer, and they charge you 6 naira. And sometimes these things doesn't even go through, and your money is not refunded. So generally, we don't have regulators in this country. Seriously, that's the main thing. We don't have regulators in this country. So anybody that goes there is just to look for what he or she can get for himself and allow Nigerians to continue to suffer.
Okay, let me come back to the studios. Dr. Peter, the House of Reps has said they could have actually intervened, and have said they told the two parties to sheath their sword and not even make public comments. That was even before Dangote now petitioned the ICPC. Do you really think that the House of Reps, do you really see them doing something about this issue? Or will it just be another case of what we all know that are always swept under the carpet?
Did you know the outcome of Nupeng and Dangote showdown? And that's how this one would also, because all of them are corrupt. Understand me? When you begin that is to open their cupboards, the kind of things you will be seeing. Understand? Over 90% of Nigeria billionaires got their money through oil, petroleum. Over 90%. Understand me? So and it's a paddy business. So and that's why when the former GMD of NNPC say if he says what is happening in NNPC, the country will burn, and that's true. What happened? They just quietly announced him. Are you still hearing that's of the case again? It has died because it's going to pull everybody from the up to down. Understand? So NNPC don't want anybody's this thing to be open. So they just call them, say, cool down. Understand? Let us resolve this issue. Matters adjourned. Sinner died. But my friend in Port Harcourt said that Dangote told Nigerian that he has enough fuel that will be enough for all Nigerians. If only Dangote should be supplying fuel to all Nigerians, he's now more powerful than the president. He is now more powerful than the president. The monopoly he is looking for, he is fighting for, that is making him now to become an investigator. Understand? Going to the children's school, getting a duplicate of receipts. Understand? Why? Because he want to control everything before Bua comes on board. You know, he and Bua have been fighting toe to toe on sugar and flour and everything. So he wants to secure the industry before Bua comes in. Understand? So if just one man can be supplying fuel to 220 million people, so it means that the country is now in his hand, which is what I don't want. There should be competition. Regulation should be going on, but it shouldn't be a kind of witch hunting or victimization. Understand? Let due process be followed. Understand? Let everything be done in a proper way. This is not Saudi Arabia. Understand? We don't. There's no kingdom here. Understand? So Dangote shouldn't be the only one. But for the revelation that he made, he has shamed EFCC. He has shamed the ICPC, and even the president should query EFCC. Why Dangote should be the one that will reveal that? Understand me? So it simply means that EFCC is doing a pick and choose. It is not everybody that all they care is the university boys, Yahoo boys, forgetting that others are stealing billions.
Okay, what precedents do you think that this sets for future private sector regulator disputes?
What Dangote? What the regulatory body is doing, standing that's on their feet, will help foreign direct investors instead of being against it. Because anywhere there's no regulation, there's no law. Understand me? Anywhere there's no regulation, it means that you can do anything and get away with it. It's just like if NAFDAC is not functioning. It means you can comfortably be producing other people's products. So for me, if other countries know that our regulatory bodies are functioning well, it will give them hope and encouragement. So for me, I see it that's as a good one. I think that's an institute, an organization is able to stand against the richest man in Africa instead of funding down for him.
Okay, let's move on to security now. Efforts to address Nigeria's deepening insecurity took a conciliatory turn in Kaduna, where a Northern Reconciliation Group paid courtesy visits to the Christian Association of Nigeria (CAN) and the Jamaatul Nasrul Islam (JNI). The group says the visit is part of a broader initiative to foster interreligious dialogue, trust building, and unity, especially in regions plagued by banditry, kidnappings, and communal violence. Leaders of CAN and JNI reportedly expressed support for collaborative approaches to peace building and conflict resolution. Meanwhile, a prominent cleric has called on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to adopt what he described as Olusegun Obasanjo's leadership style in tackling insecurity. According to the cleric, decisive leadership, firm command of the security architecture, and political will are essential to restoring peace across the country. The cleric warned that without bold action, insecurity could continue to erode national cohesion and economic stability. Let me get to our virtual guest first. What do you make of this? A northern group meeting the JNI and, of course, the CAN. What do you think that this is what we need at the moment? Is that the way to go?
Of course, it is a way to go, and such groups should be encouraged. My organization is also doing a project around religious freedom. It is called FOB Project, and through the project, we're bringing together all religions, not just Christian and Muslims. We have animists, we have African traditionalists in this country. We're bringing everybody together, and that's what faith groups should be doing right now. Even right groups should come in and be doing this, especially now that there is so much talk around Christian genocide. Now that the country is almost divided along faith lines. The most difficult conflict to resolve is any conflict that has to do with religion. Religious conflict generally is a very, very difficult conflict to resolve because it deals with the emotions of people. So we want to see more groups coming together. So it is not just for the groups to meet. We also want to see concrete steps. For instance, I expect to see action plans arising from such meetings. And what are those action plans? Action plans, for instance, that will lead us to the next step. Action plans with concrete timelines. What is the responsibility of CAN in that action plan? What is the responsibility of JNI in such an action plan? Action plans, that will clearly talk about use of language, action plans that will clearly talk about structure of messaging, when you are preaching on your pulpit, when you are preaching in the mosques, what is the structure of your messaging and what is the choice of your language, action plan that talks about, gives us approaches that can be adopted to address hate speech, using pulpits, and other structures, to drive hate speech against perceived certain religions or religious groups. So these are the kind of action plans we want to see. So I'm really, really looking forward to that meeting. I'm really, really looking forward to what was discussed. I'm really looking forward to what are the responsibilities and commitments made by both CAN and JNI. And as a matter of fact, other religious groups should also be brought into this kind of meetings. And this is what government should even be encouraging. It is not only about sending a committee of diplomats to go and engage with Donald Trump in the US. No, where you do the external front, also do the internal front. So identify groups like this, encourage and fund them, fund projects that safeguards religious freedom. Go to hotspots, go to Plateau State, go to Benue State, go to Kaduna State, especially Southern Kaduna, where you have most of these victims, do value reorientation, and begin to speak to the minds of people. Bring in clerics. There are we've identified some fairy clerics that use their pulpit to preach hate. Identify these people. If you have to prosecute them, prosecute them. If you have to now use them as ambassadors to begin to spread the message of love, use them, employ them. Then on the other hand, the issue of a cleric, advising Tinubu to adopt the model of Obasanjo in dealing with insecurity. Please, we should be very careful in some of the things we encourage. Obasanjo does not have a good record in the manner he used the security agencies in his approach towards security in this country. He does not have a good record. The OD massacre, the Zakibian massacre, all these things are still very fresh in our memory. Obasanjo used security agencies to target perceived political opponents. Under our watch, Obasanjo used security agencies to impeach governors, whom he termed were maybe in sympathy with his vice. In some cases, only 5 lawmakers, impeached their governors under the supervision of security agencies. He declared a state of emergency, in states under the pretense of, insecurity. So that man does not have a good record in terms of his approach to security. So please, we shouldn't be encouraging that kind of thing. The rights abuses that we recorded, that we witnessed under President Obasanjo is not something that somebody should be encouraging us to adopt. So please, yes, we are desperately looking for solutions to the insecurity challenges, but that does not mean that we'll further box ourselves, into tight corner. Remember that the issue of Christian genocide borders on rights, the violation of the religious freedom, religious rights of certain persons. So by the time you now begin to, in your desperate move to tame insecurity, you now begin to adopt certain extraneous approaches. That in itself can also, tilt the international community against us as a people. So we should be very, very careful. And we should also remember that most of these jets, these Tucano jets we bought, for instance, these fighter jets, the equipments we're buying, technologies we're buying from countries to fight insecurity, they also come with certain conditions in terms of their use. You cannot deploy them in certain ways. You understand? Okay. There are certain drones you can't deploy in certain ways. So we should also be very, very careful when we give this kind of suggestions.
Okay, thank you. Let me get back to the studio. Dr. Peter, what do you make of this in just 1 minute, because we're out of time?
For me, there's no religious conflict in Nigeria. Christians are not fighting Muslims. Muslims are not fighting Christians. What is happening is terrorism, understand me? That's what is going on, understand? So, and what is happening in Benue and in Plateau State is not because Muslims fighting Christians. Assuming it is if our worshippers are there, those killings will still be going on. I understand, because what is happening is land grabbing and not killing Christians.
Okay.
Understand? So assuming it is traditional worshippers are there, and even in Plateau and Benue, that thing will still be going, because they just want to occupy those properties.
Okay. Okay.
So Christians are just unfortunate to be the ones that dominated those areas.
Okay, this is where we would draw the curtains on today's program. Thank you very much, Sunny Dada, for joining us all the way from Port Harcourt. And thank you very much, Dr. Peter Anosike.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, sir. That's all for today's episode of The Issues. We explored the challenges facing Nigeria's polity and governance. Thank you so much for joining us and being a part of the show. Don't forget to tune in next time for more in-depth analysis and discussion. Follow us on social media to stay up to date on the latest news and insights. Until next time, stay informed. I am Nenna Ndomdioto. This has been The Issues and Voice of the People Television, where the future faces forward. Please don't forget to stay tuned for hashtag with Vivian and Ikechukwu. Don't go away.
In a world where truth is the ultimate power and opinions scream the loudest, it's time to wade through the noise.
Hunger no get tribe! Hunger no get religion!
And scan the human interest and trending topics that matter. Stay tuned to The Issues, your plug to the stories making the buzz, from politics to science and technology, social justice, and more. Let's tackle the tough questions and expose the truth. The Issues, on Voice of the People Television, Mondays to Fridays, 8 to 9 p.m. The Issues. Don't just react, understand.
This is African News on Voice of the People Television, where we don't just bring you the news, we bring you Africa's heartbeat, the policies that shapes our world, and the economy that determines our future. African News on Voice of the People Television. Stay with us.
In a world where power shifts with every headlines, news breaks and events happens, we bring you unbiased and explicit information on politics, economy, and state of the nation. We break down the chaos. Facts, not fluff. Truth, not spin. We discuss not just politics, but a glimpse into the future. Voice of the People Television. Now you have more than a voice.
My name is Tao Familoni, and here is to view PTV. Keep watching, stay tuned, do not touch that dial.
Arararara, my name is Made Kuti and you're watching BOPTV. Keep watching.
Welcome, my name is Ika Davis. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, boys, viewers, everybody, boys and girls. This is VOP TV. Do you know what that means? Voice of the People TV. You don't have a voice, don't come here. You better make sure your voice is heard.
This is Health Check, your weekly guide to better living, smarter choices, and trusted answers. From everyday wellness to urgent health issues, we've got you covered. Health Check, only on Voice of the People Television, where your health has a voice.
Behind every broken desk lies a broken promise. Education shapes the nations. But who is asking the right questions? Introducing Edu Dialogue, the show that goes beyond the surface, exposes the cracks, the corruption, and the silence in Nigeria's education system. Edu Dialogue, Saturdays, 3 p.m., only on VOP TV. We break the biggest stories, from missing funds to policy failures